Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on another episode of Thor News' exciting and totally fascinating Dear Diary. Mars retrograde and Jupiter direct. Man, I got a feeling Stay Cool September is going to be a big month. Dear Diary, thank you to God and the universe for all the awesome people that ever existed on Earth, and especially the ones that are here with me now. Man, Asteroid Fight Club is awesome and amazing. Thank you. Dear Diary, I wake up every day and I'm like, man, now is like the worst time ever to be protesting or rioting. But they have pretty much shut everything down. So like people's only choices are stay at home or go protest. Dear Diary, man, I've been talking about the planets for a while. And so I think I'm grumpy today, while also at the same time feeling like the luckiest man on the planet, which is a weird vibe, dude. Because I'm super grateful, because I feel like one of the luckiest men on the planet. But I'm very frustrated, because I feel like as a team, Earth, we should be doing way better. And I've been around and met a lot of people, Diary. I don't think there's one person on the planet that has a good argument for why we shouldn't be doing better. Dear Diary, lately people have been like, yo, Fat Thor, you are fat. And I'm like, I know. And I don't want to be too self-centered, but since the subject is me, I'm fully aware that Fat Thor is fat, man. And this is like the last week before Jupiter stops its retrograde motion. It's like Jupiter's been retrograde in Capricorn, a house of like restriction. Think of Capricorn as like a fucking lockdown. Of all the 12 signs in the zodiac as we spin around in the solar system, it's like 12 different seasons. Technically, NASA said there's a 13th new dragon season. Okay, sure, fine. But either way, you got a lot of slices of pie in the sky as we all flip around it. The sun. And so, sure, yeah, with Jupiter retrograding in Capricorn, man, I feel like I've been knee deep in the Capricorn energy for like 3 to 5 years. And so that's been like the same season for 3 to 5 years. And yes, I miss, as a Sagittarius, running free like a horse. And just being happy and majestic. But I think those days will return. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, but smoke them if you got them. And I just want to say thank you again. I feel like the luckiest man on the planet. What do I got to do in 2020? Well, stay safe. And then I got to wake up and make videos about all the stuff that I'm interested in. That's like my job every day. And so I am super grateful today. While being grumpy, I'm super grateful So like, I got the coolest job ever, but 2020 and the collective situation is not the best that it could be. So it's like, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. And so, for Stay Cool September, and through the rest of the year really, there's no real reason for shit talking. There's no real reason for gossiping. You know what I'm saying? Cheers. And we got a bunch of hurricanes coming. Well, we raise the vibration and open up that gate in the middle of the ocean so they all go harmlessly out to sea or, to Europe. But Europe, they never... I don't recall Europe getting hit by like a Hurricane Maria in my lifetime. Was talking about, yeah, like September is going to be rough. Because look, diary, it's like in the political world, we got the worst of both halves. Where the people who are like, look, we got to lock everything down because we have a virus, kind of like the 1918 pandemic. And then so you have them doing the lockdowns with states and businesses in very awkward fashion. And then you have the other side of the coin being like, no, we need freedom regardless of a pandemic. Businesses need to do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. And so they get to push for that avenue. So it's like half doing one system and half doing the other system, and neither one is working well together. But both sides do seem to be gaining power and profit from having some bastard plan that's the worst parts of both sides. So having both sides point broken fingers at each other going, it's their fault this shit sucks so bad. I'm like, no, it's their fault. It's like become the taste great, less filling argument of 2020. Open the schools, wear a mask. Open the schools, wear a mask. And dear diary, one pet peeve and weakness I have is like, look, dude, I don't want to talk about a fucking vaccine till it's on the table. Till it's like a real deal thing. I don't want to spend any fucking time speculating or worrying about a vaccine. But people talk about it all the time, especially on the YouTubes. And definitely on Wall Street. Wall Street every 2 weeks is like, hey, we found the magic vaccine. People are like, yay! And so there's going to be a lot of Wall Street political talk about vaccines up until the election and after the election. But there will not be a vaccine that will be put in anybody's hands before the end of the year. Although they're promising that it's possible. And I'm sure it is mildly possible. That's a whole nother fucking can of worms. Like, that is not here yet. Like, we have like multiple hurricanes coming at us in the next 2 weeks. Any vaccine problems are fucking months away. And so one of the things I love about weather is like, man, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I'm trying to keep you and your family informed. But what the fuck is going to happen with hurricanes and storms? Fuck! We need a good plan. That's all I'm saying. And stay cool September. And this is a weird tightrope I'm walking, diary. I'm grumpy and frustrated, but grateful. And stay cool September. And I'm drinking beer. And everybody is impulsive and has frayed nerves. So I'm definitely not looking to kick any beehives. And right now, I don't need anybody to agree with me on anything. Like, we all have our own opinion of what is happening now. We're like trapped in this mentality of, let's draw a conclusion. We barely have any of the fucking evidence. And all year I've been like, hey man, I got an idea for 2020. Let's figure out a way to feed everybody every day. So that feels like a litmus test. Like, I don't give a shit about your fucking political beliefs. Are you in the camp of like, you know what is a good idea for the next year and a half? Just be like, hey, no matter what happens, whether the virus explodes in the winter or it fucking magically disappears, that with mass layoffs and the way things are, that one thing we could unite and rally around is like, hey, let's feed everybody every day for the next year and a half. Yeah, it's a good idea. Or people are like, no, that's a bad idea. Let the free markets decide who gets fed. And sometimes the free market is anti-human. Mars retrograde. That's all I'm trying to say. At points and times, it feels like the free markets, who are Plutonian, who are Mercurial, who are Martian. Like Earth stock markets, you know, they have a off-world aspect to them. Like, can you imagine if aliens showed up and then like our politicians got on planes to go meet them and be like, hey, would you guys like to buy some of America's bonds? Would you like to buy America Earth bonds? We are ready to sell you aliens American debt or Earth debt. That's some crazy shit, man. So that's what I'm talking about. I want to be talking about like, hey man, okay, let's say Martians showed up. And I'm not saying they are, will, or haven't already. What I'm saying is, I wish I'm nostalgic to the days when we had conversations about shit other than politics. And so, with all the surprises we have seen in September, and we still got a lot of track left on the road, who knows what we're going to see? Jordan Maxwell was like one of the official, original Truth Community. Like him and Richard Hoagland were like the guys who did this at the very beginning. Like the old Star Wars with Obi-Wan. We're talking those days. He was like, I've got an astrologer who decodes Nostradamus. And he was like, man, there's some outer space shit coming in October. And I'm like, well, technically, we've all been part of Space Force since 2019. And I guess as the unofficial leader of that, I've been doing a shitty job, diary. Yeah. Now is definitely the time to stock up on food for like 2-3 months just to be safe. Now is definitely time to stay cool. I don't mean to be an asshole, diary, but like I said, the whole idea of people protesting, like right now, protesting. Remember, I've been predicting that there's a large chance the virus is going to get much worse in the winter. And so knowing or believing that it is around, but it won't be here forever, I ain't taking no dumbass chances. Me personally. And I don't necessarily understand the love language of protesting, because like you get a bunch of people to just show up, be like, we are unhappy, and we are so unhappy. We crafted signs in small bumper sticker bullet points so you can understand why we're unhappy. And hey, man, I don't know if you know this, but the politicians are pretty aware that there are a lot of unhappy people out there. I mean, I still think one of the biggest things of where our government has done like the half and half for how do we handle the pandemic of 2020. Well, half and half. We'll have like half a lockdown with half open everything the fuck up. At the same time, we'll have tug of war it out. Tastes great, less filling. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, so I think, yeah, definitely through September, October, like, it would be my initial prediction that lockdowns are coming the fuck back in October. And I know no one wants to hear that, diary. But as the guy in February who told everybody to prepare for lockdowns coming the fuck back, or coming in March, like if you're just looking at everything, I don't give a shit about your political fucking opinion. This planetary defense commander said, look, like we got half pushing for lockdown and half pushing to open everything, and neither one of them are working together. So much so that while basically having a lockdown happen across the majority of the states in some type of way, Congress did nothing to help out the 30 million people who had jobs before all this shit happened. So like 30 million of the working class literally lost their job to no fault of their own during this pandemic. And we needed Congress to say, hey, we understand it isn't the perfect thing, but giving the unemployment benefit extensions to the people who had jobs will take care of them and their families, their children. So all that money that we give straight to the people who had jobs will then be spent and wind up back in the economy. Instead, Congress was like, fuck no, let us take that 1% or 2% of money we are spending that we could have spent on the people, and let us pump it back into the fucking stock markets. Or let us pump it into Bitcoin. Or let us pump it into satellites and rockets. And so if there was like a super crap moment where like before hurricane season, when the Republicans, the Democrats, and the deal-making president, they let everybody down. So at this point, I'm not a fucking cheerleader for Trump, not a cheerleader for Biden, not a cheerleader for Congress, though I'm not blaming them. I'm saying we have been mishandling fucking everything all year in some of the worst kind of ways. So I guess that's why I'm frustrated, but still grateful that you are here with me and you guys have been here with me, and that this is not the end, but it is frustrating. and it seems like a tactic. Like, I love black lives and I love blue lives. I love black people and I love blue people. The police, peace officers. And somehow during all this shit, pitting them against each other during a pandemic is like a masterstroke of evil genius. And I definitely think there would be a lot less rioting or protesting if we fed everybody every day. Or like if Americans are like, all right, we'll make it through this for the next year and a half. Food-wise, we got you. Just like a small, simple step of the we are all in this together. But in a post-2000 year world, in like 2001, all of a sudden there were people from over the ocean who were like, we are going to destroy the West and then knock some buildings down here. And then like a few years ago, it seems like people were like, we are going to destroy the left. I'm like, man, how fucked up is shit where we are now going to war with literal directions. That's a hard war to fight. We got to get rid of the West and the left. And then we're good to go. That's a bad battle plan, man. It's hard to make a good, proper strategy off of that. Like, and what did that direction ever do to you? I'm grateful I can still tell jokes. I'm grateful that hope is still alive. Okay. And now, if you could join me, please. The sound quality is not going to be perfect. But looking back on my own life, one of the greatest summers I ever had was I spent a whole summer and I was a singing guy in a full rock and roll band. It was like 2007, 2008. So for like one summer, we practiced like 5 days a week and just had fun. And so it was one of the best way I could let out all my frustrations. I was like, man, I'll just go sing some rock and roll. It was like 2007, 2008, before the financial collapse. So it was like 9/11, and boom, 7 years later, financial collapse. Like, we can't get any momentum because major crises keep on happening. And they're weird. Like I said, people flying airplanes into skyscrapers to try and declare war on a direction is weird. And then having 7 banks fail on the same day is weird. And then in 2014, 2015, we had Brexit. And so it is technically like, it is the year 2020, or also known as Brexit Year 5. Like, what was that even about? It was like James Bond, and everyone's like, we're picking up our stuff and we're leaving. But technically, they're still there. They're still continents that are connected. And technically, Diary, I think the reason that I'm bad at geography is because when I look at a map, all I see is bullshit national state lines that are as imaginary as the full faith and confidence of the shit your money is backed by. So I keep, like, the things that trip me out, where I get tripped out, like China and India are going at it again. I'm like, whoa. And before, when I could use my editing programs a little, I tried to look up the old videos from like the 30s, 40s, 50s to try and figure out why China and India were mad at each other. So you got the people who are like anti-peace. Like, peace means the devil wins. That's crazy to me. So what are they suggesting? Like, everybody just fight everybody all the time? And that, like, we are in a post-Beirut explosion world. So, like, so what are the options? You got, like, peace? Or you just escalate combat and fighting and war until everything's destroyed? It's kind of like, those are the binary options we were being offered, except we're not being offered the peace option. Because everybody's like, the internet is like, peace is impossible. Peace is the way of the devil. Except in the 90s, we felt like peace was imminent. I didn't grow up watching Hulk Hogan and the New World Order. So I don't, those weird conspiracy fantasies about absolute doom, I'm not into those. I didn't buy into those, and I understand people get offended. It's kind of like the rapture. No disrespect. As a Christian, it's not my thing. I ain't dependent on the rapture. I put a lot of energy in the rapture. If that happens, it happens. But, so I get that, like, there's a whole generation obsessed with Hulk Hogan's master plan for the world. I think good times are going to return. But watching the old system exit as the new system enters is definitely interesting all the time. Man, I'm not drinking beer very fast. All right, this may be awkward, but I'm going to do it. So back in 2007, when I had a full rock and roll band, I don't know, it was like the best thing ever. Meaning that, like, it was the best therapy. And so I wrote the song, the lyrics, in 2007. And so people are like, Thor, you too fat. Or Thor, you drinking too much beer. And like, we're at the crest of the peak of this cycle. We will be going back in a good direction again in like 2022, I believe. Taking steps along the way. But it's going to take work. It was kind of like the whole September thing. Of like, we knew in January what was coming. And so we had 7 months to prepare for the fall. And we didn't do very well, man. So now the fall's here. Okay, so, and definitely when Jupiter goes direct, I'm going to work on my health and leave the house and exercise again and stuff. But during the final week of Jupiter retrograde, I'll probably be drinking and eating lemon frosted Twinkies, while being grateful that I have electricity and an ability to still hang out with you, Astro Fight Club and Diary. All right, so what I'm trying to say is, I wrote the song 2007, like before the financial collapse, because you could just see whatever direction, like we continued to take weird steps towards darkness and away from rock and roll. Like, cool guys with guitars somehow became illegal and impossible on Earth and in America. Anywho, so I would probably sing with the song. It won't sound that great, but I want to let you know. So, but we're almost over the hump. But the next 2 months are that big hump, dude. The grand transition in action. What's going to happen? I don't know. But I've been predicting rock and roll will return in December. I've been predicting that since like 2017. I've been predicting that things will start to get slowly better in September. since 2017. So we're here now. Although Jordan Maxwell was like, watch out for October. I was like, oh, I have been, buddy. And I've been trying to get the word out. I don't know what's going to happen in October. I imagine multiple events. But I'm going to do what I can to stay right with God, talk to Jesus, and stay cool. And hopefully tell some good jokes. Man, I missed. And drink some beer and look in the camera. Make eye contact with camera. Stay connected, focused. Okay, here we go. I'm a dreamer, y'all. It's true, I'm a dreamer. If you can't be a wild man on stage, where can you? It's maybe awkward. Man. I'm a drinking and a smoking, and I'm smoking and I'm drinking, and I think that I'm thinking too much. I'm a drinking and a smoking and a smoking and a drinking, and I'm a thinking way too much. Cause days like these don't ever end. You just hope that they never ever begin again. The cops always got me down. Women pushing me around. As long as this world is filled with clowns, you'll find me high and drunk on the ground. Whoa. Oh, no. So, I was happier when I could let it all out in proper ways. Rock and roll helped heal my soul. I picked it up, player, don't put it down. Cause I'm a drinking and a smoking, and I'm smoking and I'm drinking, and I'm thinking way too much. I'm a drinking and I'm smoking and I'm drinking, and I'm thinking way too much. Cause days like these don't ever end, you just hope that they never ever begin again. Alright, one more and I'm done. This next song is kind of about 2020. Oh no. No. No, 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 no. Fire up the engines. I shall crash this masquerade. Your savior is coming down. No. You're not safe here. All right. She's always lonely, but she's never waiting. Look, their aura is clear. I have discovered undercover lovers. And no, you're not safe here. Chosen apocalypse. I end this pestilence. I'm gonna bring the hammer down. I can take it, but you take it too far. All right, thank you. And so, yeah, dude, it was only like 12 years ago in this cycle. Where, like, rock and roll was still fighting and still had some type of foothold. Then they came out with, like, selfies. And karaoke rock still existed in 2000 and 2001, but, like, so, like, regardless of who wins the fucking election, rock and roll is coming back in December. So cheers to that. It was well past time to let healing rock and roll return to earth. And if saying shit like that gets me killed, then that's a pretty good thing to die for. But I plan on living, baby. I plan on being here for at least another decade. So we are all camp counselors, and Earth is our camp. And I've listened to 20 years of excuses of why we can't work together and why everything's got to fail. And so these are exciting times for sure. And so with Mars going retrograde, you know, the warriors, the warrior spirit within us all is in many ways going to be like backpedaling. And I'm pretty happy that I'm single, because this is crazy shit, man. But like a Mars retrograde period is a heavy, like, if you are in a relationship that's been on shaky ground for a while, or in a marriage, like, this is gonna be a time where there are gonna be a lot of breakups and divorces. While everybody's still working to send their kids to and from school in a weird ass pandemic situation. And so, yeah, I think September is going to be crazy, but so far we're doing pretty great. I mean, I'm saying September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, we're doing pretty good in stay cool fashion comparatively. And so, Jupiter being retrograde, it's kind of like Lady Luck is still around, but she only shows up like once a month or something when you really need her. And then to me, Jupiter direct is like Lady Luck is kind of always around. Now, granted, if you're being negative or just staying in a chosen low vibration, I'm not necessarily sure Lady Luck's gonna want to hang out with you. Because I've always felt like it was a personal responsibility to be someone that people want to hang out with, you know? Or even like if we're going to talk for 2 minutes at a bus station, I'd at least be good at conversation during our 2 minutes. And so on the 9th, war sort of has to backpedal. Like, it has no fucking choice. I mean, you can still fight wars, but like, you don't. It's just, I don't know. It's an old adage like Mars retrograde wars, or don't start a war or fight during that, dude. And then so you got like War having to take a step back, and Lady Luck showing up at the party. So for me personally, I've always been kind of excited about September. And that like Saturn is the taskmaster, the drill sergeant. It's kind of like if your parents went away for a weekend and you threw a giant 200 people house party. Saturn is kind of like your parents showing up at the end of the weekend. Well, like whatever you used to do, whatever you did to the weekend, that shit don't matter anymore. We're getting the house back into shape. And so that is how I look at Saturn direct at the end of September. And the last time we had a lunar eclipse on the 4th of July was 2001. And that September was pretty big. We had a lunar eclipse on the 4th of July in 2020. And this is after Christmas eclipse in 2019. And so I've always been looking at September as like a big event month. But I think in the yin and yang, we could get a counterbalance, very good thing that happens in September. Like the equal weight of what happened in 2001, but on the good side. Now I would still say prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Because it seems like there are a lot of cycles happening. Because I know you guys are hung up on the fucking election and shit. But dude, I'm off in Jupiter world, Mars world, Venus world, Mercury world. Like, there's a whole giant show happening in the sky. And dear diary, here's another thing I'd like to say. It's only my opinion. But the sky in 2012 and before it, to my knowledge, was 3D. And since then, it has become 5D with twinges of 7D. We might be getting to the E. And so it does feel like people have spent so much time over the last 8 years looking into their cell phone, thinking about earthly things, when the story of the future has been taking place above us in the heavens. And so I guess that's partially why I'm grumpy too today. Is that like, look, I get it in a 3-act narrative structure, bigger picture kind of a way. The reason that 2020 sucks so bad is because you have Jupiter, which has an 11-year orbit, and then you have Saturn, is it 32-year orbit? Fuck, I just forgot. It has like a 32-year orbit, and then Pluto has a 248-year orbit. And so they go around in kind of a circle, but for like 2 years, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter have lived on the same street. That's what the last like 2 years have been. That like the major outer planet energy, or the things you see in the sky at night, every night when there's no clouds, that is a rare occurrence, or they're like in a car. So a lot of times Jupiter drives a car on its own, and Saturn drives its own car, and Pluto drives its own car. But for like definitely the last 2 or 3 years, it has been like Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter are in the same car. And we're in the back seat, us Earthlings. And so there's like heavy Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto energy that has been happening. And one of the things about my YouTube channel is it was like I took a course on learning about Planet X, Eris, Pluto, Ceres, Sedna, VP113, even Dark Moon Lilith. Like, so it's been like a weird graduate course, Space Force, learning about the deeper parts of deep space. And that Eris and Pluto directly tie into like Roman myths, Norse myths, Greek myths. Like, I would definitely think is some interweaving shit happening with Zeus and Egyptian mythology. And that throughout like thousands of years, when humans did have an imagination, and they wrote stories of the now, the then, and the future, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn always had huge roles. It doesn't matter whether you're capitalism, socialism, communism. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, Buddhist, Muslim. Like, dude, the planets have been there since we've been here. And they have been like a unifying factor under God. And we've been arguing about them the whole fucking time. Another thing that I think is weird, Diary, is in the inner solar system, you have the sun, and then you have Mercury, and then Venus, and then Earth, and then Mars. And so if you're only thinking of major planet way, so that is one reason there has been such imbalance. Like, for example, take the 3 planets, and let's say one planet is socialism, one planet is communism, one planet is capitalism. Or say one planet is Judaism, one planet is Muslim, one planet is Christian. And so, like, all 3 are always chasing Venus in their own way. I don't mean to offend anybody by saying this. I'm just saying, they're like... And so that's why there's definitely been an imbalance in the inner solar system for a while, because it feels like there's all this masculine energy. Mercury, Mars, Earth, chasing Venus, the only woman in the inner solar system. And it would seem like it, and it's kind of been reflected in socialism, communism, capitalism, and Judaism, Muslimism, and Christianityism. You know what I'm saying? Strange. The term planet comes from wanderer. Wanderers in the heavens. Oh, another thing that is crazy, I was looking at it, and you know how most of the planets in our solar system more or less are kind of on the same ecliptic? Like a flattish plane. The Pluto goes like, in a north-south relation, goes like up and then down below the ecliptic, and then above the ecliptic, and then below the ecliptic. And so if you look at the ecliptic of our solar system and then Pluto's orbit, Pluto definitely gives off a very as above, so below vibe. So that's kind of weird. Something to think about. So I don't want to think about politics. We've done enough of that. And that shit will work itself out. One way or another. Yeah, I would totally be into Earth coming up with basic human rights for everyone on the planet and everyone who shall be born after us. And a great way to start with that is feed everybody every day. I'm gonna get a third beer. But so with like 8 days until Jupiter is slowing down from backpedaling and about to start going forward, and Saturn is slowing down, about to station and go retrograde. And so definitely the next week is going to be a really weird week. And I'm going to try not to drink and smoke too much. But I'm probably going to. I'll try not to eat too much or gain more weight. But what has been a more consistent go-to? That like if you just need a dose of happiness, or like your mind is happy, your body is happy, and you are full, then food. Like food gets an A+ during the pandemic 2020 year. They're like, food has definitely been my friend. Like zingers, I don't know if they're like a $1.30. They're like, you get 3 zingers. They're like Twinkies, except on top they put like lemon frosting. I thank you, zingers. You helped me make it through oatmeal pies. It's like oatmeal cookie, and then you got frosting in the middle. Thank you, oatmeal pies. You've helped me survive 2020. See, I guess it's like freshman 20 and pandemic 35. Oh, so if you're just joining, I'm grumpy, but I'm also super duper grateful. I feel like the luckiest guy on earth. I get to do a dream job, which is be planetary defense commander and make videos about whatever I want every day. I literally haven't been able to edit videos. Like, my digital constrictor people are so tapped in that it is just impossible for me to make edited videos. It has been for like 2 months. I haven't played guitar in 2 months, but that definitely gets us into. I might be talking about myself too much. Obi-Wan. Thank you. This force is strong with you as well. Thank you, Obi. So yeah, I haven't played guitar in 2 months, but okay, let me try and explain it again, even though I've explained it a million times. We are all born into what, the weird parts of the galaxy or our sky. Like, we were born into that, the sky, the house we were born under, wherever the stars are when you're born. It's just like your Gryffindor Hogwarts house. And so, if I understand correctly, I'm a majority of Sagittarius. I was born in December, late December. But I've got a lot of Capricorn in my chart. And in the whole pie circle, they're like the 2 pieces of pie that are right next to each other. So that as everything goes around, there's Sagittarius, and then there's Capricorn, and then there's Aquarius. And Aquarius is the future. This is very important. So you have Saturn, which is almost like the old taskmaster ways. And then the one right after it is the future. And so for me personally, Saturn, when it goes through like your birth house, like rearranges and changes everything. And so that started for me where Saturn started going through Sagittarius in like 2015. And then Jupiter went into, okay, so Saturn went through Sagittarius for like 2.5 years, and then it has been in Capricorn for like 2.5 years. And so I've had Saturn in both of my birth houses for like 5.5 years. And then Saturn's birth house was Capricorn, that slice of the pie. Jupiter's Sagittarius. And so Jupiter went through Sagittarius, but is now in Capricorn. And so Jupiter and Saturn, the two planets, the grand conjunction we will see in the sky over the next 4 months, have spent the last 3 to 5 years like a heavy amount of that energy in the same place in the sky with Pluto. And Pluto's in Capricorn too. So like, to astrologers, it is no surprise that 2020 ended in lockdowns. Because you basically have had a Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto party in the house of Capricorn for 5 years. In the grand transition. And so the final degrees of a sign are sometimes the hardest. And so this is what's so amazing about this, is that Jupiter will be leaving Capricorn on the 20th of December and going into Aquarius. Saturn will be leaving Capricorn and going into Aquarius on the 20th. And then on the 21st, they will be together in Aquarius for quite a while. And then Pluto will enter Aquarius in like 2 years after that. And so the fact that A, I am forbidden from editing videos, and B, I haven't been playing guitar for these 2 months, really, and I'm fat, are really no total surprise to me. And so it's like we have been trapped in the same car with hope, death, and time for a while. And like I said, Capricorn is kind of like the old way of doing, like the old way, like the last time everything came around. And so it is no surprise that Trump and Biden are both in their 70s. And so like we're in the final stages of the baby boomer as master of the narrative. that whatever narrative system we have going on right now, it has been like the baby boomer narrative system of the last 120 years. Beginning, middle, and end. It's like like I said, from 1900 or 1888 to now, the like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. We're kind of at the end of, we're at the very end of like Act 3 of that whole chapter. So we're going into a new chapter. And the worse shit gets, you just got to remember that like all the shit that doesn't work anymore has got to fall apart for like the next year and a half, possibly a little while longer. Like we're in a system that is 100 years old, if not 200 years old. The last time Pluto was in this spot 248 years ago was 1772. Or 1772, 1774, like which pretty much led to the creation of the United States of America. And that I know due to superstitions and bad educations, people have come up with a million reasons to fear one planet working together. But it's like the only way to go. But like a simple step forward now in 2020 is, do we want to feed everybody between now and 2022? Or do we want to try and force the last 200-year system onto 7 billion people? And that one big issue is that, like, let's take the 100 richest people on the planet. All of them have a large amount of excess. They have land they'll never be able to visit. They have cars they'll never drive. They have it's keeping up with the Joneses, the end of the 3-act baby boomer. That even that war of hoarding competition can't really last. I've been saying this for 20 years. That like with great responsibility comes great power, and vice versa. And that so if you are a trillionaire, you can afford to feed everybody every day, and that it enriches your life by doing it because you live on the same planet, you share the same planet. And you may be like, dude, I got a condo in Mars. And this is where I say, hey, you live in the same solar system, you share the same solar system. It's like having a debate with Russians, Americans, Grecians, or having a debate with Martians, Plutonians, and Venusians. We're all in this together. And in a very weird way, and the glory of the divine architect, which I call God, that like the planets and the stars have been our shepherds forward. And I think the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets miss us. I've said this before. If you sing to the stars, the planets, the moon, the sun, or you talk to them, they're listening. If you're sending energy their way, they can feel it. I mean, it is pretty special that you have heavenly bodies that give us light. And there's a major difference between light and darkness. One of the prime examples is back in the day, I was on Fitzroy's property. And we were drinking and going for a hike in the woods. And well, we got too far away, and then it got dark. And so we had to walk, I don't know, a couple miles back in the woods in the total darkness. And I was trying to be as absolutely cautious as possible. And I still tumbled down a ravine twice. Like I'm trying to take solid, tiny steps forward, and somehow still, when I came to an empty creek, I would fall into the creek and roll down the hill. And it would hurt a little, but no more than a laugh. And so every human being that has existed has understood darkness and light. And that how when the lights are on, things are illuminated. And it helps your direction, wherever you're going and whatever you're trying to do. And so the sun just gives us light every day. And the stars and the moon, the planets, have literally been providing us all light since we've all been here. Thousands of years. And so, and during my 8 years of Thor News almost, I've been including the stars and the planets and the solar system the whole time. Under 4 years of Obama, and now almost 4 years of Trump. And that is the difference of like politics. You take politics, and people will be like, I know everything about all these political subjects. But if you look to the heavens, there you know instantly there is so much you do not know. Like our sky is filled with an unlimited amount of absolute mysteries to us. Questions we have not answered in thousands of years. And so definitely for the 1900s, we had World War I in 1914. And we had World War II in 1944. And that so from 1888 on, we've been in an oil and war economy or system. And it has somehow kept civilization progressing, populations growing, and things improving. Asterisk. And so that is literally what the grand transition is. It is one of the things that I've been discussing out loud to anyone who would listen since the 90s. That from the 70s, the 80s, and into the mid 90s, we were promised a future of solar power and solar system exploration. That we would learn more about our solar system and it would learn more about us. And that they, you know, definitely, like Nostradamus said, in 1999, terror will come from the sky and fear will reign. And so they literally stopped like the progression, the forward progress that John F. Kennedy Jr. talked about. And I put in my videos where John F. Kennedy literally says that we've gone to Venus, we've gone to Mercury, like we have done all these amazing things in this very short amount of time from the 50s to the mid 60s. We have done so many amazing things. And that there are groups that want to stop that progress dead cold. He said it in a speech at Rice here in Texas. And then it happened. And so we're kind of at the bunch up of trying to squeeze every last drop out of the old system while maintaining as much power as possible in the new system. And so to be in the car with Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn the last 2 years and not have it all collapse has been pretty amazing. I'm gonna get another beer. Oh my God, my body is so fucked up. I walked a mile today and I was so out of breath. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I almost walked a mile in the, oh. And it does remind me of the Matrix. Where Neo has his online presence. And then he unplugs and he has his body. So yeah, technically being in the foxhole has been like being on the International Space Station for 2 or 3 years. Except I've been drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, eating zingers, and pizza. Because the pizza place next door has a large pepperoni that's $6.50, which is like 2 meals. And it's delicious. Okay, dear diary. I would like to get into a very tense subject, and I'm only giving my opinion. You are free to have your own opinion. You make your own decisions. I try to give advice. And so you got to remember, I warned all of 2019 about, look, man, in the beginning of January 2020, something is coming and something is going to fuck us all up. It is going to be like a monster movie. Thank you, Raymond. Gotta write down so I can thank you guys properly. Thank here and then. Thank you, Obi-Wan and Raymond. Raymond is a cool name. It has ray in it, like a ray of light. If I was gonna have a child someday, it'd probably be one of the names on the list, Ray at least, that I would think about. You guys are great. And I would like to say again, yeah, dude, I feel so lucky because A, I just get to make videos about all the things I'm very interested in. And if I want to stay in my apartment for 2 months, as long as I buy the proper amount of cigarettes and beer and food, I can do that. And so I feel super duper duper lucky that I get to play great defense. But I would like to say that having Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter on the same street, and especially around the January 20th conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, I warned, hey man, we got some type of crazy space monster coming. It's one of the reasons I put Asteroid Fight Club together to prepare for the future in 2020. And so I don't know what's coming, but it's going to be some crazy shit. And so the virus showed up. And the fact that, like, I even got to argue with anyone, although I don't argue with anyone anymore. Thank you, Lesla. I love you and I love Jesus. Y'all are great. And so, all I'm trying to say is that, like, it has been the most frustrating part of Planetary Defense Commander by far. And that, you know, there have been people at Thor News who've been telling me for 3 years that hurricanes are fake. I'd be like, you fucking people are crazy. And those people would have more subscribers than I would. Like, that lady had like 60,000 subscribers and would get hundreds of thousands of views, I think, on her videos. Trying to explain to people, look, I found a radar in the middle of bumfuck Egypt and it doesn't show no hurricane. So therefore, hurricanes do not exist. And I would always get people, I mean, it stopped a little in 2018, but tons of people showing up like, hey, Thor, have you seen the proof that their hurricanes are fake? I was like, this is the dumbest, craziest shit ever. Phyllis, Mama 2, she lived in Houston her whole life, and she would tell me her hurricane stories. And like I said, one of the reasons that I like to evacuate if I get a chance is because I don't want to be without power for 2 weeks. And so I have listened to my elders tell me amazing hurricane stories. So ain't no motherfucker who watches a YouTube channel gonna be able to come along and so, like, it is the same thing with the virus. Like, not only did I warn about it for a year, but in February I said this is how it's gonna go down. Lockdowns are coming in March. And so with the virus, I've been right pretty much every single step of the way. And yes, it probably only kills like 0.5% or 0.4% of people, but over 370 million people, That is still a lot of fucking people. You guys are great. Thank you, Mia. And so, thank you, Lex. You guys are fattening me up. As the second person who was like, hey, buy pizza, $6.50 pizza. And so let me say this weird thing. And I'm trying not to kick any beehives, trying not to piss anybody off. But in the whole messaging thing, one new thing that that one group in the narrative came out with was Alex Jones. He was saying it in March. He's like, fuck, if you take away my football, I'm going to start eating people. I'm paraphrasing. And then another guy, and big Trump supporter, Diamond of the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, and Ben Davidson of Suspicious Observers. They're big on the United States. They're big on Trump. They're big on grand solar minimum. They were talking about censorship in a video that is on YouTube. You can see it's on the Oppenheimer Ranch. And at the end, they're talking about, well, like if shit gets really bad, people are definitely going to start eating people. Like that's what's going to happen. Cannibalism. I was like, fuck. And so for cannibalism to be a weird reoccurring theme of, the same people were like, and I'm not trying to kick beehives, I'm saying in 2016 they were like, hey, trust the plan. 2017, trust the plan. 2018, trust the plan. 2019, definitely trust the plan. 2020, it's the pandemic, don't trust nothing. And then the new amendment to that is like, if we don't get our way, cannibalism shall reign. So I'm wondering, are you guys trying to fatten me up? I was thinking about it, like, I don't know, somewhere back in the Comet Ison days, some of the weird death threats I would get would be people threatening to chop me up and then eat me. I was like, well, after I was dead, technically being eaten would not be something I would want to recommend, but I don't really worry much about what happens to me after I'm dead. So I don't have a lot of say in it. And I have been the whole time of like, we need to avoid the collapse of civilization and work together to make everything better because we created all these cities and we created all these symphonies. And so, the Y2K bug hit in 1999. And so the AI has been like programming us to get ready for doom and Hulk Hogan's New World Order. And I'm like, nah, that's not how it's going to go down. But I guess what I'm trying to say was, if I was getting fattened up to be eaten, my preference has always been, hey, look, man, I have fought for everyone, rich or poor, tried to get us together so we could have better days, better times as one Earth family. But somehow if I lose and you guys do kill me because I was super honorable, I would prefer to have it be as painless as possible. I do not want to be tortured. Although if I was tortured, I would probably piss my pants and shit myself and cry. I would probably not take it as well as Jack Bauer. But like I said, whatever you got to do with me after I was dead, I'm really not that worried about. I'm glad we had this conversation. But I recommend Americans standing down in any Civil War talk or collapse talk. And then like the very basic first step is like, hey, feed every American every day for the next year and a half. It's like $800 billion. But because we were stuck in a half lockdown, half open everything back up like it was 2019, not only did we not worry about taking care of the 29, 30 million people who were workers until the pandemic hit, but there's still an underlying current of let the free markets decide. Like, who gets to eat in 2020? Let the free markets will decide. And the free market's like, hey man, Tesla stock went from 200 to like 1400 during the pandemic, and then the stock split. Although with Mars retrograde, it's probably going down. I'm just saying that the main things I've been focused on for 2020 is make sure people are fed, make sure the energy grid is up, and make sure keep people in their houses. And that so you would see less crime, you would see less rape, you would see less looting, you would see less murders, less robbery. By doing those simple American needs now, I don't give a shit about your fucking politics, bro. I don't give a shit about your shitty reasons not to feed everybody every day under these circumstances. That like letting the free markets to decide may have worked up until 2020, but it's 2020 now. And that at some point in time, everybody's going to have to put their big boy panties on and recognize the way we're doing September, lockdowns are coming back. And that the protesters need to focus on making sure everybody's fed, kept in their homes, kept their lights on for the next year and a half. The angry political people need to focus on making sure everybody's fed in their homes with lights on for the next year and a half. Like, this is a common goal for the common man. We want to reduce crime. We want to increase kindness. We want to make it through this grand transition together. And that if you let the free markets decide, you're basically turning it over to a table of like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Like, you're letting like, and that's only just like the American names we know. You're literally turning over the fate of 7 billion people to like 100 of the richest fucking people on the planet. This is why I thank you. And yeah, I'm in a fundraiser. But like, I'm one of the only people on the planet where it's my job to represent everyone. So I represent anyone under the billionaires and trillionaires, and they're fighting about an election and black lives and blue lives. So I need good people to do good, and that includes the billionaires. They're like, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I don't necessarily have official authority to tell, ask, or beg Elon Musk, who's also 48, or Larry Page of Google, who's also 48. Like, yo, bro, I need more help from Generation X. Like, humanity needs more help. And technically, we're hanging in there. And that the virus is you never see it, can't taste it, unless you're a healthcare worker or have had someone get it. You do not have firsthand knowledge. So, like, the events of 2020 that have rattled me the most were the Beirut explosion, which looked like an H-bomb, and then the fact that we lost Donald Trump's brother and the Black Panther in the last, like, 2 weeks. As Planetary Defense Commander, we are at a weird precipice going into Mars retrograde and Jupiter direct. And it is so strange. Like I said, the narrative is only really offering an option of politician as savior or total doom. But the political system absolutely fucking let 31 million Americans down, working Americans, tax-paying Americans, both of them, and the president let them all fucking down. At a time they were having some type of roll-out restrictions across every single state. As some type of, it was... One thing I like to do, it's not fun though, is compare and contrast the government response to 9/11 and compare and contrast the government response to the coronavirus. Like, literally, Democrats and Republicans and the president got together to say, hey, our towers have been knocked down. We are going to go fucking invade Iraq. But you got Nancy Pelosi and the Republicans to be like, we're good. Yeah, we've looked at the evidence. We're invading Iraq. And they changed all the laws, changed the way we travel, changed the way we did everything. Because 3,000 people died. from a terrorist attack. And then so you get a pandemic. And like I'm tired of arguing or disagreeing with people who don't believe that it will kill you if 0.4% of all humans, probably. But that like India and Brazil and us are the hardest hit right now. And so whatever dumbass argument against like the 1,000 extra people who are dying a day in India or in Brazil, like, dude, our political election and our political system is not affecting the dead body count in India, and that India and China are not getting into a fucking argument over politics. They're not like, hey man, you know what will give us the most power and money right now is if we kind of start a war and have people dying in a pandemic at the same time in a fake hoax. Like, it just don't make no sense. And it's been my fear all year. Like, I don't know how many people went out and were like, hey, I'm going to do some research on the Spanish flu of 1918, the 1666 plague, and the Black Death in 1300s. But, you know, they traditionally lasted 2 to 3 years. It killed millions. And they seem to come at solar minimums. I haven't done the math or checked, but it might be right when Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter were all in the same spot. And so, over the 2 to 3 year span, there are like 2 strength waves, it would seem, in a plague. And it seems like they come when it gets cold and cloudy. And so with that knowledge, remember, I was talking about this in February. And so if it was a giant fucking hoax, India would not be having 1,000 people die and dealing with it today. Like, all like 200 governments would be like, hey, I got an idea, let's shut all of our fucking shops and businesses and economies down. Everybody got caught flat-footed, except for Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. As a joke. And that this problem would have not have been uniform and consistent across all nations since February, if I was wrong. And so, under the same shit I was talking about in February, through is like the fall and the winter, I am very, 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 very concerned that this will strengthen. Viruses have their own fucking mind. Viruses are like cats, bro. Cats that can adapt and change and grow. Viruses are like weird regulating magic. And so whatever the next form of the virus will take in the fall, I've been like, yo, we need to be preparing for that. Winter is coming. And so I have watched some truther channels who have literally put out videos saying coronavirus is absolutely a hoax. And Bill Gates and his buddies plan to release an actually super deadly strain of the coronavirus in September. Or like, And so because we were all willy-nilly with like half a donkey, half an elephant plan from February to September, the end of September into October is going to be fucking ugly, and major lockdowns are probably coming. Look, bro, no matter how you feel about it, the National Football League is not making decisions based off your opinion. And that anger is definitely being funneled into the protests. But protesting now, in my opinion, is dumb and dangerous and a waste of time and resources. You gotta drive to protest. You gotta. Anywho. So this is like the week before the next whatever. And Jordan Maxwell was like, hey, we got some crazy outer space shit coming in October. And I've been like, yeah, we're going to have probably some different type of space monster type challenge things in October. And I want to say again that when Pluto and Saturn totally lined up in our sky on January 15th, we got the virus. And so by Saturn retrograding back, as it has been for a while, it has been retrograding back to this almost the same spot that it was when it was conjunct Pluto. So like the exact horrible fucking mid-January moment is going to be revisited around September 26th, 27th, 28th. Straight up real deal. So that like from the end of September to, I don't know, the middle of October through October, death is going to be fucking around, like all around, like Pluto, Hades, death. And so, as I was saying, like, dude, I would prepare for a crazy September, a crazy October. We're going to make it through, but we are literally watching the old system, all its ways that didn't work, break in front of our eyes. And I get a lot of people out there like to think that some human beings are in control. I do not agree. I think God is in control. I do not think some magic group has absolute control over everything and anyone at all times. I think you were giving them way too much credit. And so here I sit wondering, knowing we're probably going to have to deal with lockdowns again in October, like, what can we do to get the rich and the politicians to help the people? Because people were definitely more emotionally stable and family structure stable when we were giving 29 million people extra money to make it through. Now, I do not get unemployment benefits. I do not get ISS. But I'm sure that secondary, some of that money ended up in my pocket just by people thanking me. But I'm saying that is the part that is beautiful about it, that like all the money that was given out to the unemployed basically went straight back into the system. Went into your grocery stores, it went into your, all the very basic things. So I guess it's definitely why I'm frustrated that, like, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you should see we still have 2 months left before the election. And the way both parties are handling the pandemic is not helping out the 30 million people who got laid off or the families and friends around them. No major steps are being taken to solidify civilization. And this week, the Federal Reserve was like, fuck, I just forgot the Federal Reserve has 2 mandates. I forgot the first one. The second one is keep inflation at 2%, I think. And so that has been like for 100 years plus, that has been the Federal Reserve mandate. We're going to keep inflation at 2%. That's our goal. And this week they're like, hey, we ain't going to worry about inflation that much anymore. I'm paraphrasing. But that was some crazy shit. To drop interest rates to 0%. When was the last time interest rates were at 0%? 2008. And now they're back to 0%. And they're like, we're not going to worry about inflation. Well, during that time period, obviously there's enough liquidity within the system. And so it just in some way, you have to figure out basic ways to get that liquidity into people's hands so they can pay their rent, so they can pay their electricity, so they can feed themselves and their family. Because if we allow the free market to decide how to handle the next year and a half, it's going to be a fucking bumpy ride, bro. And that no matter who wins the election, like, let's have a fair election, and then whoever wins, we will do the very best we can with the winner. Whether it's red or blue or purple. Oh yeah, and then we got hurricanes coming. I don't know if you just tuned in. All signs are pointing toward anywhere from 2 to 5 hurricanes in a 2-week window. If the high pressure system stays where it is and strengthens, holy shit, that would be like a lot of trouble. Possibly Sandy 2.0. If atmospheric defense, Asteroid Fight Club, Prayer Warriors, or just sheer luck can open up the channel, then it will allow the storms to all go out to sea. And I keep suspecting that is like one of the things that me and the Grand Solar Minimum guys agree on is that there are definitely some space weather changes coming. What they are, I don't think we all know, but that it is best for everyone to prepare for it. And so with earthquakes, volcanoes, and that has been one of my major reasons why, like, I'm not super pro Biden. I'm not super pro Trump. Because they seem very baby boomer, let oil solve the problem. And one of the things I've been talking about at Thor News for like 5 or 6 years is we need a new power grid. And so it's like a basic thing of like basic needs of Americans, basic things that we could build that would improve everyone's life is you can build a good power grid of the future that can withstand 80-mile-per-hour winds. And you can feed everybody every day. Like, that is absolutely super doable. And then at no point in time have I ever heard Biden or Trump talk about a fucking power grid. And then if you were a Generation X badass or a smart dude who cares about the future, like an American in any capacity, like, you got to know we're operating on like a 1960s power grid. PG&E should be your number one like way to look at how the entire regulation, deregulation, utility system is fucked up anyways. Like, we need a new power grid. And that, so the people who are like, let oil, war, and the free markets decide. That's why, like, I don't know how anyone can really get behind a single politician now and know that we need a new power grid. Like, neither one of those two dudes is being like, we need a new power grid. And it's just basic. Like, if you live in a religion of free markets will solve everything, then you're probably not going to agree. I mean, you could throw generators in the oceans and power everything off wave motion. So it is like, if there is going to be a civil war, it's like a civil war to go back to 2019. And bro, we ain't ever going back. I don't know where we're going in the future, but we're not going backwards. But, okay, can I tell you this? Just as Saturn is retrograding backwards, and Jupiter is retrograding backwards, it feels like our American mind has retrograded. Everyone has talked about, hey, y'all, we are still in March. Well, let me tell you what. We just retrograded back into February. Where, like, everybody got so frustrated with the pandemic, they were like, hey, let's just agree that it's kind of over. And so the optimistic, it's not optimism, the like outlook of how we're going into the next 3 or 4 months is pretty much the exact same outlook as it was in February. Whereas like in February, I was like, hey y'all, we got fucking lockdowns coming. And people were like, pish posh. No, we do not. It is a hoax. And so now I'm like, hey y'all, we got lockdowns coming back in October. And it seems like people are like, pish posh. I need my baseball. Although the movie Batman's production had to shut down because Robert Pattinson got the coronavirus. And so that no matter what happens, I'm repeating myself, but like people and the rich and the politicians really should concentrate on what they can do to solidify families over the next, definitely through 2020. I mean, it's like Congress's number one easy thing is spending money. But somehow they can't agree on simple things to make everyone's lives easier over the next 4 to 6 months, year and a half. And by my estimation, we're going to be dealing with this shit for another year and a half. And I think most of the messaging on a vaccine has been coming out of Wall Street. And Wall Street is trying to keep you optimistic and totally in fear at the same time. And to me, I don't want to get too trigger happy, but the idea of fearing that they're going to make you take a vaccine seems kind of as goofy as the idea they're going to come take away your guns. Because it's just like a census. Having to mandate something in a physical interaction kind of way between 330 million Americans. Our government is not that fucking efficient, bro. I mean, they may bust some soccer mom in Idaho and put it on the news, but there's no way they would be able to enforce making sure every single fucking American got vaccinated. They're not efficient. But you are efficient. And I love you. So thank you, dear diary. Thank you, Astro Fight Club. Thank you, cool people of Earth. But I definitely think there's a lot of room for good things to happen. I highly recommend everybody staying cool. But traditionally Mars going retrograde is not supportive of being aggressive, being like trying to force your way on others, starting wars or attacking people or troll, like the percentage of muskets that backfire when Mars is direct and Mars is retrograde is pretty substantial. So it's almost like the 3-month period where the universe is saying, all right, you got to look for ways other than combat and fighting to solve your motherfucking problems. They're like, the solar system takes away Mars's sword. Sure, he can go grab a club or he can go grab sticks or bones but he'll have to do like 3 times the effort to get the normal. And Lady Luck is definitely not in his corner. And that Jupiter, like Christmas and Sagittarius season are right after. And so that's what like Sagittarius is hope of the future. That like when a hot and crazy summer can drive everybody nuts. But that like when the Sagittarius season shows up, it is fall and winter. And that everybody is a little more optimistic and hopeful and envisioning the next year in the Sagittarius season. Like hope is alive. We will get to Christmas. Not everybody though. So yeah. I love blue lives. I love black lives. I think protesting is dumb as shit. Thank you, Al. Thank you. You guys have been amazing. And I would tone down shit talking. Or like coming up with crappy stories that have no real due process. I mean, technically, I think you could totally even take a break from talking about politics. Like, Most people have made up their mind and are going to vote or aren't going to vote, and they've had 3.8 years to do all their research. And so, like, let everybody vote, and then we'll do the best we can with whatever the outcome is. And that America will not fall into some doomsday, cannibalistic, post-apocalyptic world. And I would definitely guess we have some Earth changes, solar system events in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, it's kind of like if Wall Street scientists knew that a volcano was going to erupt in Cascadia or in California in the middle of 2021, do you think they'd tell everybody? No. And so, like, that old system is not that good. Thank you, cool cats and kittens. You guys are tremendous. And in case you missed the part where I have 69 people here, I feel super grateful that, like, I get to wake up and make videos about whatever I want. Like, if I want to smoke and drink during a video, you guys have been fully supportive. I want to talk about comets or China and India. You guys have been fully supportive. And that if I want to play defense and not leave the house much for the next 6 weeks, you guys have put me in a position to do that. And I super appreciate you. And so, with no disrespect to the boomers, I feel like, they've been in charge for 120 years. And that it's, we're like transitioning to a Generation X world. And I think we'll make it. That's why, I feel like Generation X has been training for this our entire lives. We've been a bridge between the next generations and the one that ruled for 120 years. Yeah, I think we're the coolest generation. But it's not a competition. And so we'll make it through together. All right, do I have anything left to say? Thank you. Oh, let me practice looking into the camera. Hello, people out there. It is so cool that I'm here with you and we are energetically connected. And I appreciate that we have been here together, definitely over the last 8 years, going through this and learning. But I definitely think it is important to understand that we have been in a car with Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter for like 2 years. And that energy has definitely spilled into this pre-lockdown world. But we have not crashed the car. But it definitely sounds like the car has run out of snacks. And so, if you're going to have a group on an adventure or any type of event, you want to make sure that they have snacks, dude. You don't want everybody hangry in the grand transition. All right, so yeah, let's work on getting a brand new power grid and feeding everybody every day. And stop those damn evictions. As another thing, like, thank you guys. I paid rent today. I feel super, super lucky. Super, super grateful. And so I wish Republicans and Democrats and independents would focus on doing what we can to help everybody get through these crazy times. And so I appreciate that I'll get to eat a $6 pizza. I appreciate that I get to drink beer. I appreciate that I have electricity and a place to live. And I think everyone deserves that right. I know it is not the way we've been taught in the let free markets decide. But when you had 30 million people get laid off, letting the free market decide what to do next is sort of fucking scary. And that the people need to represent the people more. Instead of breaking off into counter subcultures because whatever reason. That the people need to show up at the table to represent the people. And that no, we're not doomed. No, like I'm a Christian. Our sins were forgiven. So we do not have to pay for our fucking sins every fucking day. We can't evolve past that shit. And so yeah, just like Jesus turned loaves and fishes into more loaves and fishes, we're going to feed our brothers and sisters and make it through this madness. The transition from an oil and war economy to the future. From Capricorn to Aquarius. I love you guys. Y'all are fantastic. Thank you very much. Who knows? I might even be back later. The energy's been weird though. After the full moon. Thank you. Stay cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And stay positive when you can. Though it is frustrating. God bless everyone.